Episode 2 of Doctor Who Season 2 LUX has now aired. What did I think of this one? Let's get straight into this. I mean, first of all, I watched it with a group of other Doctor Who fans, which was very fitting given the episode. We'll get onto that later on. But yes, crazy, absolutely crazy this. I think I loved it. It's kind of one of those ones where it's a bit difficult to know because there was so much going on and so much to process. You know, very much another kind of Devil's Cord style adventure, with the pantheon of the gods and revisiting all that kind of stuff and focusing on, you know, not music this time, but another kind of area of entertainment and the arts with cinema, animation, and more broadly light as well. I thought that was all very, very cleverly done. The whole stuff with like the science of light and the way that light works and celluloid and film and all that kind of stuff. The way that moonlight was the thing that, you know, brought Mr. Ring-a-Ding to life. Lux Imperator, I think is the name of this god, the god of light. I was pleased with that as well, how, yeah, it was a broader thing going on there. There was a god of light, it wasn't just like a cartoon brought to life. And actually the whole of the pre-title sequence was super creepy, atmospheric, and really cool. From the moment we kind of begin on that black and white film reel about nuclear explosions and reactions and stuff, obviously kind of foregrounding Mr. Ring-a-Ding's or Lux's eventual plan right at the end to use nuclear weapons and kind of bring light to the world in the worst way possible. I thought that was all really cool. And of course his eventual defeat as well, getting right up to the end. But like, yeah, him kind of like expanding and just becoming light, the whole thing about how we're 60% water or whatever, but we can still drown. Yeah, I liked that, very clever. Some kind of crazy visuals there. It was kind of a case of, oh, like, okay, just kind of go with it kind of thing. But yeah, and very reminiscent as well, I thought, of the end of Russell's drama from a couple of years ago, Years and Years, where at the end of that character kind of becomes, I think, like water, and there's a whole thing about how she's going to become love and kind of transcending into the world, into the ether. Very similar thing there with that final shot of Mr. Ring-a-Ding kind of just fading into the starry space vista. Yeah, kind of very wild and different, but cool nevertheless. I mean, I think that kind of sums up the whole episode, really, doesn't it? You know, with all the different stuff that was going on here, very experimental and different. A lot of the reviews kind of touched on this beforehand, how this was like a kind of era-defining episode, an episode that they couldn't have done without the Disney money, and like the kind of the first one where that's properly apparent. And yeah, like the whole stuff with Mr. Ring-a-Ding, this animated character interacting with, you know, our live-action characters of the Doctor and Belinda and everybody, and the live-action setting. I thought that was just fantastically done. You know, so brilliant, you know, pure Doctor Who, perfect Doctor Who, that this whole idea of a cartoon coming to life and interacting with people and breaking the fourth wall and yeah, just so great. And all the other aspects to it as well, like you've got this creepy cinema, you've got this strange old projectionist guy as well, who's been recruited by Mr. Ring-a-Ding and he's in his thrall, and he's got his whole thing going on as well with his departed wife and that, and Lux bringing that departed wife back to life through the power of film. There's some lovely stuff there, and like with the moment where we see her for the first time and like she's black and white and then she turns around as they're dancing and she turns to colour. Oh, like, perfect. Such a cool effect. And the way that ends up being resolved as well, kind of contributing to the resolution of the whole episode, where he basically sacrifices himself, sacrifices that film reel and all the other film reels he's got to defeat Lux, Mr. Ring-a-Ding. Yeah, it was so rich in ideas, this. There was so much going on. I think that kind of sums up the episode, you know, there was all this kind of stuff. Very much like Devil's Cord, where it feels like there's a lot of stuff being thrown at the wall, and does it all stick? I don't know. It's a weird one. I think this probably did work slightly better than the Devil's Cord, although, I mean, yeah, Devil's Cord has grown on me since I first saw it. I still feel like it's kind of just really a sequence of scenes or moods rather than like a plot in itself, and it's a slightly similar thing here. There's a bit more of a sense, I suppose, of a plot progression. You do kind of have, yeah, these kind of wild things where it's like, okay, well, we're going to do a bit of this now, we're going to do a bit of that, like with the animation thing where the Doctor and Belinda get animated. I mean, that was a great scene. I'm not complaining. Like the whole thing there with how they literally become more rounded and three-dimensional by sharing all their vulnerabilities and giving themselves more depth. That was very clever, very, very nicely done. One of the best parts of the episode, actually, that. And the different animation styles we get there as well, from that transition, you know, from 2D to slightly more 3D to eventually when they come back, you know, and return to being their normal selves. And the way that scene kind of contributes to their developing relationship as well was very nice. You know, the way at the end it's kind of referred back to again when Belinda says, you know, all that stuff that we said when we were cartoons or whatever, you know, it still stands, it's still true. Let's go and face his problems and the world together. I thought that was really nice as well, kind of subtly done there, but nice. I mean, with their relationship, it's kind of progressed, I suppose, a lot since last week, since episode 1 or already. Already she seems to be enjoying things somewhat, or at least the idea of time travel. Yes, she still wants to get home ultimately, but she's happy to kind of go outside and have a look at 1952 and see what's going on there. So, yeah, and dress up as well. So, is that developing too quickly? I don't know, it's difficult. I suppose when you've only got, 8 episodes, a limited, series, limited number of episodes, it's difficult, I suppose, and yes, it's probably going to feel like it's developing quite quickly, quite fast, but I suppose that's sort of inevitable. There were some other nice bits of visual trickery in there. How, for example, the cinema location and the diner location were like completely different places. One of them down in Penarth Pier being the cinema, the other one being like an actual American diner, I think, somewhere in England across the border from Wales. So that was cool. I don't suppose many people will have picked up on that. Obviously, you never see them both in the same shot together. It's either, the diner or the cinema, but there are bits where they've clearly lined up the actors in the same positions in relation to each other to kind of create that illusion, where you see them from behind and then from in front. And so, yeah, I thought that was actually really quite clever and really cool. It was really nice to see. Obviously, the most visually interesting part of the story was right in the middle, at that kind of 30-minute mark, where you've got all this stuff going on after the animation sequence where the Doctor and Belinda are animated. The whole thing with them, pulling down the bits of film, that was very clever as well, very different, very abstract. The whole thing where they begin to break the fourth wall, where they're literally looking at you outside the TV screen, they knock on it, the glass breaks, and then they go there and they do that thing where they step out of the screen and it becomes very, very meta indeed. I'd heard about this beforehand. I'd heard a rumour that the Doctor Who fans were going to be in the story and there's going to be a sequence where the Doctor meets fans of the show or of himself. I think I wasn't expecting it to be quite so literal as it was here, where they've literally got someone in a fez, someone in a Tom Baker scarf, the t-shirts, the mugs, the merchandise in the background, like the collection sets in the wrong order, and the DVDs and the action figures. Like there was a nude there, I think, with like a no translation orb, and there was a Sabine and different bits and pieces, posters on the walls. Yeah, I think the merchandise kind of thing took me out of it a little bit. And I think, yeah, maybe it didn't have to be quite so blatant as it was, with the imagery and stuff. Like, I like the idea of Doctor meeting Doctor Who fans in principle, and the show has certainly done things like this before, with like Clive in Rose, with Wiz Kid in The Greatest Show in the Galaxy. We've even had merchandise in the show before, I suppose, as recently as Joy to the World, with all the TARDISes or the police boxes. But that was my feeling towards the sequence as a whole. I think it was just a little bit overdone, a little bit exaggerated. Like the music, for instance. Murray Gold, love Murray Gold, love My Man with a Box. But why? Well, number one, why that track? Because it's an old bit of score. It's not like something specially composed for this. I guess maybe they were thinking, okay, it's a sequence about Doctor Who fans, so we're going to hark back to something that Doctor Who fans, remember and has meaning to them, rather than just being something completely new. But yeah, that felt weird. It was reused music, and it was just so loud. It felt very emotionally manipulative, and we're telling you what to think. We're telling you this is emotional. These are Doctor Who fans. They're like you, and it's emotional. And yeah, we could have worked that out ourselves, I think, really. I don't think it had to be quite so loud there. Or the sequence as a whole, quite so on the nose. But yes, other than that, I did really enjoy the story. I thought the climax was pretty strong, like the whole thing with the projectionist that I've already mentioned. It kind of takes agency away from the Doctor and Belinda a little bit. Like, she gets sent off to kind of go and stop him, but he's already stopping it anyway. It was a similar thing last year with Devil's Cord, with the Doctor and Ruby, where they don't really do anything to save the day. It's the Beatles just kind of coming in from nowhere. So that kind of felt a bit strange. But the imagery of the Doctor being kind of chained up to the wall by film reels, reeled in by reel, very nice. And yeah, again, reminiscent of Ruby, with Maestro last year as well, being chained up with music notes. That was nevertheless very nice. And the whole thing with regeneration energy as well, is that playing into a bigger thing with the rumours about whether Shooty's leaving or not? Who knows? It was interesting to see that mentioned here, and also the fact that he's the last of the Time Lords, the mention of bigeneration as well. Is that all building to something bigger? The mention of Gallifrey, or Time Lordia. Is it just a throwaway thing, or is there more to come with that? Again, with Devil's Cord last year, we got our first mention of Susan in years, the Doctor's granddaughter, and obviously that ended up paying off somewhat in the finale. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the things being seeded here are going to some way link into what is to come. Speaking of which, the cameo from Mrs. Flood at the end, very, very nice, very clever, very meta, obviously, again, very funny, kind of has an unintentional, I suppose, sort of extra layer to it in the fact that this thing about a limited run, 24th of May, it could also refer to the rumours about, you know, what's going on with the future of Doctor Who and when season 3 is coming, if and when, and who's going to be like funding it and stuff, whether it's Disney or not. So yeah, I like that a lot. You know, love Denise Dobson. I do just kind of want to see more of her kind of going forward. Like, we keep getting these little snippets of her here and there, and they're absolute gold. Very, very funny. And very, very nice to see her in a different outfits and stuff. But I do hope kind of going forward, yeah, we see more of her. I'm not sure how she's going to appear in next week's story. Like, how the heck she's going to get into this well on this distant planet, like 500,000 years in the future. I'm not quite sure, but very intrigued to see. So yes, those are my initial thoughts on Lux. But what did you think of this story? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you prefer it to The Devil's Cord? Did you prefer it to The Robot Revolution? Be sure to let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, there will be a full in-depth roundtable review with the usual suspects later in the week discussing the story in more detail. So make sure you're subscribed for that. But otherwise, until the next one, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye for now.